Hello everyone and welcome to the Deepbluerenegade podcast. My name is Molly, also known as the Deepbluerenegade. I'd like to welcome you guys to episode 62. Today is Sunday, October 26, 2014, and welcome. It's been a pretty chill week this week. Aside from buying lots of plane tickets, not too bad. Oh yeah, no fun to do that. But I have a couple of trips coming up, so it makes sense that it would end up happening this way. So, knitting. Look at that. It's a shawl. It is done. Done. It is not blocked yet, so it's still in its special ugly duckling phase, and there seems to be whatever this little ridge thing based on the construction, which I'm not really sure what to do about that one. But I've woven in the ends. I still need to block. I ended up finishing it fairly late last night, but it is nice and big, which is the hope. So this is the Frangipani shawl by Kitman Figueroa, and I knit it out of wool myself in the Stella Polaris colorway. And I did end up running out of yarn before I was quite done, so the triangle from this point on is actually twin instead of pure, but that isn't a deal breaker or the end of the world. I had to do a little bit of alternating skeins, which meant that it wasn't going to be blocked for today. But hey, I'll have to show it again once it's in its blocked form and let you know whether or not they have the strange thingamabob here. But it did end up coming together. The only mod that I did with this pattern was I ended up continuing the cable and like a purl column in the body of the shawl. But other than that, it was pretty nice, and I hope it grows a decent amount when I block it, because right now it is a little bit short. So hopefully it'll be nice and long at some point. But I figure it'll be really pretty. Whatever. I'll probably block it tonight or something, since it needs to happen at some point, but I wasn't going to not block it and not be able to show it on the podcast. So it is done, which is good. So this means that I'm going to be back on the socks, at least for a little while. Oh, and this is actually how much yarn I have left over from the, from that extra little bit. So there's still plenty for socks, and it'll sit wound in my stash for a while, but it'll become socks at some point. So the other knitting is the socks from my grandpa, which I know you guys haven't seen much of lately. I think I've not worked on it for at least 2 weeks now, so I haven't talked about it for at least that long. And I feel like I'm short or something. Well, I just realized that some of those stitches were popping off. Like, fix those quick. Alright. Much better. And then different stitches popped off. There's some danger with shoving this into my knitting bag like this. So, here's the sock. I haven't actually touched it since the last time I saw you guys, but no big deal. Okay. Yay, I have all 5 needles. That's good. So, I'm still working. So, I'm at the heel flap. It looks like there's some rejiggering that's going to have to occur, because I think it's fallen off the needles enough times that I have to be a little bit careful about that. So these are for my grandpa. The pattern is Cranberry Biscotti. Technically this is for the Sock Knitter's Monster Sock Cow, because I am using 3 different yarns to knit these guys. But very likely it's going to be feeding into the Whip the Whips cow, which amuses me greatly. Though one of the rules of the Whip the Whips cow is that you just have to finish by the 31st of December. Which means that you can start entirely new projects to Whip the Whips. But the idea being that a lot of people tend to have, like, especially when you have a lot of like knit-alongs in a group, you end up having these long lingering projects. So, I think the oldest project so far is one that was started in 2012. So, however that works out. But, so if you're interested in finishing up your sock work in progress, hop over to the Sock Nurse group and check it out, because I'll be there working on my grandpa socks, which, well, this is the only one so far. It does continue on, though. So for that, since I haven't mentioned it in a while, I am using my 3 different yarns or so. Wow, what's in my bag? Something horrible has happened to my knitting bag and there's crap in it. So I have Wazarot, or Grafrots, Wazarots, and Dora. Dora the Explorer. So, I have plenty of Dora. I'm wondering whether or not I have enough Grafrots, but we're just going to roll with it anyways. And the Wazarots is very cool. Like, I wouldn't have thought that I would enjoy a yarn with this much gray, but I think it is pretty charming. And that is the knitting for the week. I didn't end up actually getting a lot of spinning done this week, but I did get a little bit. So after pulling out the chocolate Shetland fleece project last week to show you guys on the podcast, I decided to actually spin a little on this stupid project. I know, shocker. So, and actually I'm almost done with this particular roll log, though it's going to be a bit of a pain to finish this guy off because it's a lot of seconds. Or it seems to be that when I'm spinning a roll log, all of the really nice, lovely fiber ends up getting sucked in early on, and then the end is just a bunch of finishing. But these are how many roll logs I have left until I'm done spinning this set. And the roll logs are a bit compacted because they had been hiding in a closet for several months while I pretended they didn't exist. And the particular bag they were in was with my Tuft Woolen sample. So it was the case where, what was it? They smell very, very strongly of the of that scent. But such is life. So I ended up breaking this out for Knit Night on Friday. Because I have somewhat been in the mood to spin, and I figure if I have any chance of completing the Spin the Bin challenge, it will involve spinning several more rounds of this particular fleece in order to do that. I think, what is it? Oh, words. Because I think I haven't spun that many skeins of this year, and obviously it's the case where in Dallas, a sweater made with Aran yarn is actually a coat. So the plan is to knit a coat that is worthy of Dallas. And it will be quite fabulous and awesome because it will be made with my hand-spun yarn. But the end of the roll log is always so hard. But what is it? But it is, whatever, nice to know that I'm making progress on it again, because the short answer is that I probably needed to split up making a skein of this a bit more craftily. So instead of spinning an entire skein of yarn, which has lovely prep, I should take a break in between steps, for example, which is why I decided to finish off the silk spin. Because what was it? I was getting in the plane to fly to visit my husband maybe Labor Day weekend or something like that, and that's when I started the Redfish dyework spin. and then I ended up bringing it along with me, I believe, for when I went to visit him to help pack up the house to move down here. So, I don't know. But in terms of palette cleansing, like, I don't end up putting a lot of time into spinning, which is why my spinning projects end up taking so long, is more so just because I'm not sitting down for, a couple of hours spinning every day, because I'd rather be knitting, or just sitting down for a couple of hours on the weekend or something. So when I'm spinning, it's pretty sporadic. And I've been really, my normal happy spinning time is while watching podcasts, and I haven't watched podcasts in a couple of weeks now, since I'm still settling and all that other stuff. So hopefully this settling will be done soon. But in terms of other sorts of things going on, it looks like the plane tickets that I ended up buying were for Thanksgiving, and also one of my cousins is getting married, so we'll be flying 2 weekends in a row, which is sort of crazy making. I should still be able to podcast those weekends because we'll be back. We're flying back on Saturday for those ones, so that should be a-okay. And it'll be nice to hang out with family and the whole bit, so it's always good to see them. And the case where it's always nice, for example, because all of my cousins are of marrying age, so it's nice to be able to hang out with all of them, because we don't often have an excuse because we're scattered all across the country. But alright, so that roll-log's done. So I've spent 2 roll-logs on this project this week, and then lots of gross second cuts from the stupid fleece. I know better now, but it will be quite awesome when it's done. That's the short answer. So you got to see me spin for a little bit. It shouldn't be a problem for me to record next week. Let me check the date, because I don't really want to do math. It's probably the 2nd, because Friday is Halloween. I don't necessarily have any Halloween plans. We ended up buying candy last night, since it seems like we're living in a neighborhood that is full of children. Yep, so November 2nd. So I should be able to record then. Yay! And what is it? In terms of like exciting things on the horizon, it looks like I'm probably going to be painting a shelf today. And that shelf will be installed in the yarn room, and then I can start getting my stash out of their cardboard boxes and into more long-term storage, which will be lovely. And whatever, the normal sorts of settling things. So today my husband's decided to tackle the garage, so we're letting him go to town on that. I think I'll have to provide moral support soon, and that moral support will probably be in the form of spinning roll-ons. Or painting a shelf, I'm not sure. And yeah, no, it's a pity because it's hard, it's really nice hardwood that the shelf's made out of. But someone had put chalkboard paint on it. So then some of it is wood and some of it is chalkboard paint, and it looks sort of strange and awkward as it is. And the plan was that I was going to be able to take off the paint somehow, but it's really tenacious stuff. And to use paint stripper would end up, To use paint stripper would end up hurting the wood somehow, so it's aside from the fact that it's nasty stuff. So currently my stash is still in boxes. I'm not sure what the next project will be. I'm guessing that since my socks are not very thrilling, at the moment, they'll probably be much more interesting once I get into the color pattern again. But for now, it is less exciting. Is that these will be pretty easy things to have as a carry around project and that sort of thing. But yeah, no, once more, I'm sort of in this rut where I'm not sure about what that next thing is going to be. And I don't know if that's, oops, I'm supposed to knit or purl all the stitches on this row. So because I'm not sure what the next thing is going to be, it's been at least a little bit crazy making. I might need to do a little bit of daydreaming on Ravelry to figure out what that next thing is going to be. Like I might want to see, what is it, if my yak silk yarn would end up holding up for like a sweater sort of thing, or if I want to do something different with that. Because one of them in my knitting group has this absolutely gorgeous Viajante, Viajante, whatever. Don't pretend to know Portuguese. But it's that Martina Bem pattern, which is sort of like a shawl, sort of like a poncho sort of thing. And Karen has me pretty convinced that it's awesome sauce. But if the yak silk isn't going to take well to, what is it, enthusiastic wear, then perhaps it won't be as good. But I'm just very envious of said poncho-like thing and sort of want one for myself. And maybe the yak silk, maybe that would be the right project for the yak silk, or maybe I just need something delicate and pretty in order to knit that up. So that is my current set of ponderings, is trying to find a way to use the yak silk. One of the women of Completely Twisted and Arbitrary seem to be gunning for a cobweb cowl, and I do happen to have some cobweb yarn, which I could do. It's actually a merino, like 90% merino, 90% cashmere blend, so that would be really lovely and to work with. And what is it? So there are options, or if I want to pull out my Mao's Young Wilmisa DK and knit a sweater for myself, I'm not sure. It could be nice. But I sort of don't want to start a big project at the moment. But all those projects are big projects, so I don't know what it is. I guess I'm still on the no socks for myself kick, which means no socks for anyone, more or less. But I don't know, such is life. So I will, whatever, let the pair of socks be my carry-around project for a while and see how far I get on them and that sort of dealio. Because the stitch pattern itself is interesting enough. It's just a matter of, I think I got bogged down because I wasn't very excited with the heel flap. Because it is, what is it? I do have 80 stitches in this sock, so it's not like it's no stitches. And maybe there'll be time to watch some podcasts and spin tonight. That would be lovely as well. Full of vague knitting thoughts today. I hope you guys don't mind. So, I think with that, I will bid you adieu. So I hope everyone has a lovely, lovely week, and I'll be talking to you again next week. So take care, guys. Bye-bye.